switch is in the back. So behind this little window, there's a door. Okay. You're just going to hit the toggle switch on, just so you can't accidentally shut it on or off on the patient. Okay. Once it's off on the patient, it's off. Okay, so you need gas. Okay, so we can run it off of just oxygen if we put it up to 100%. Okay, or we can use it from air. That's what the compressor's doing. So this one automatically defaults to baby. Okay, this one here. So before we use it, we would have to tell it we were going to change it to adult here. Mm-hmm. Most of the machines where you're going to be will default automatically to adult, unless you're in the NICU. Okay. Once we tear it off of a patient and clean it and set it back up for the next patient, we're going to want to go through a self-test. Okay. So what we're going to do is this machine comes with this little piece of corrugated tubing. So do you want to use the pre-use check? Yes, we do. Some things on this machine, on this particular machine, will not pass. Okay, like the O2 sensor's bad. There's like the battery's bad. So basically, we're just going to read it, connect the test tube. So you're just going to, doesn't make a difference from which to which. Okay, just fits in. We're just basically closing off the system so that we're going to test all the internal workings. Okay, we did that. So it's eventually the last thing it's going to do is going to ask us to test the particular circuit that we're going to use. So these are all the things it's going to go through and test. It's going to look for gas, which we know the gas supply coming in is fine, but it's the O2 sensor that's bad. So, so we should be able to get 50 psi. If you drop down below, I think it's like 43, it'll let you know that you're losing pressure. It takes a couple seconds. That's why we do this before we're ready to use it, because otherwise it takes too much time at the bedside to set this to do this. So if any of those things would not pass when you're checking it out, if you want it again or you know how to fix whatever it is, then you get it to pass. But if it's something like the O2 sensor that needs to be changed, and if you don't have access, you just have to let Biomed or somebody else do it. Some things you're not going to have access to change. So
I was talking to somebody at Toledo, and I guess they're starting to use some servos too as well.
They have always been using servos in the NICU. They had to use a couple on their adults because they didn't have enough vents.
Oh, okay.
So you reach it. So basically, they'll tell us the O2 sensor's bad. It's like, okay, well, thank you, but there's nothing we can
yes, we know. Okay.
I can change it because I know, and I'll show you where it's located. So in case, I'm not going to redo the test because he's just doing good. So the battery in here is dead, but if not, when it came to battery switch testers, ask us to unplug it from the wall. It would test the battery, and then it's going to have to plug it back in. The batteries are located here on the side, so if you wouldn't change them, but Biomed, they're just slide a new one in. It's like 96 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Which is should be more than enough. We go on transport. I would just turn my O2 up to 100, put a tank here, and you could just go on transport. So. Wow. Good morning, Zach. Good God. That was better than coffee. The next thing it's going to do is we're going to take this off and we're going to test the circuit. Okay. So basically, you got an inspiratory side and an expiratory side. Okay? And then if you forget which is which, it's actually labeled for you.
Nice.
Going to test the circuit. Most of the circuits come with a little cap on it. Obviously, this one doesn't have the cap on it. It's all set to go. So it's just basically going to test whatever. If it wouldn't pass, I would try it one more time, and if not, I just get a new circuit.
Okay.
There could be a pinhole in it, and I can't see it.
Right.
I could put a piece of tape over it.
That would be ghetto.
There'd be some. You believe me, some people would try it. Okay. Do we want to compensate for lost volume? Yes, we do. Okay. And then this would be as if we were like in an LTAC or like a SNF, and we had the vent here, and the alarm system would be like at the desk. So obviously, we're not going to do that. Okay. So we're okay. We passed it. Do you want to delete all the information? Okay, so from patient X that we tore apart, there's information in here, like all the alarms and stuff. So if I don't need that information, I'm going to go ahead and delete it.
Okay.
So it went to the little pink person. Okay, we're not working with little pink people. We're working with big blue people. So we're going to switch it to adult. It's going to recalculate from the little tiny tubing, which is the NICU tubings like this, to the big adult tubing. Yes, that's what we want to do. Okay. So the internal workings of the machine. You don't want to open this up when it's on a patient, okay? Because you might accidentally do something crazy. Put the filter back on. But here's the expiratory cassette, okay? And so this is what we're trying to protect with this filter, is this little valve, okay? So we don't want any moisture, medication, secretions, because if this gets jammed up, because it opens and shuts, if it gets jammed up, stuck open or closed, that vent's going to shut down. So we're trying to protect it as much as possible. You can, if you wanted to, you could slide it in from the other side, and then, you know, just reverse your vent if you wanted to. Okay. So underneath this thumb screw is all the internal workings. Okay, so you just like a quarter, dime, whatever fits in there, and then you could open it up, and then your O2 sensor will be in here. They have it closed so that you don't accidentally do something stupid and open it up. Okay. You got 2 drawers. So like your saline or MDIs or whatever. Okay. These you can open up while it's on the patient. No big deal. Okay. So all of our modes. So here's all your modes you got. Volume control is your sys control. Okay, pressure control you guys are talking to talk about. PRVC, your pressure regulated volume control. You're going to see that probably 90% of the time between the Mercy systems. Okay, most times we aren't going to use anything crazy. Or pressure control, we will. Pressure support and CPAP, you know that. Volume support's another support mode. Then you get your 3 types of SIMV, which you're probably not going to see very often. SIMV is kind of this vent's too sophisticated for just SIMV. Okay. Bivent is another kind of weaning mode. So a lot of times we use it in the NICU, or we can use it on adults. Okay. And NAVA would be something that they're going to use internally just at the NICU, and that's.
I actually heard about that yesterday. They like insert some tubes and then like they like stimulate the brain. So like when the brain wants a breath, it gives you a breath. Very cool.
And all that stuff is on. So this is right now, as far as I know, this is the only vent that does NAVA. So that's why we're still using it in the NICU at Toledo. So you'll learn more about that, obviously, in the fall. Okay. So let's go to something that we're going to use a lot, PRVC, okay? Pressure regulated volume control. So the pressure is going to change to keep your 500 tidal volume all the time. So if the compliance gets worse and they get stiffer, you're still going to get your 500. Your pressure is going to regulate a little bit. It's going to go up, okay? If the compliance gets better, your pressure is going to go down, but you're still going to get your 500, okay? And then you've got your tidal volume and your respiratory rate, you know, and FiO2. We're going to lower that just so we don't suck up all the oxygen. Okay. You get your IE ratio. Okay, if you want to change your IE ratio, here's your IE ratio. There's your I time. Okay. Because this is set up for baby first, you're going to see your IE ratio here. If it was set up for adult, the IE ratio probably would be here, and you would actually be setting your I time. You know, it just depends on which piece of software is installed. Same thing. Rise time, how fast are we going to get that breath in a percentage to the patient? Okay, so 5 is what it defaults to. I usually use it at 5 or less, okay, because I want them to get a quick breath. I don't want to drag it out over time. I want them to get that peak inspiratory. Trigger flow is your sensitivity, okay, just like it was on the IPAB. You get flow is a lot easier than pressure, but you could set it to pressure if you wanted to. Okay, 0 being your base. Okay, so anything away from 0, 1 is easier than 0, 2 is easier. 10 would be super easy. It would probably self-cycle. Okay, so that's why it's red. It's like, are you really sure that's what you want to do? So I usually if I set it up, I might set it up for like 2 or 3. Okay, because I don't want it to self-cycle. I want to make sure the patient is cycling. Besides that, I'll turn this back just so we get some. Besides that, that's about it. What we've got for settings on PRVC. Okay? That's all. That's it for PRVC. Pretty easy. Then we get our alarms. Okay, and all your alarms here, where you're used to setting tidal volumes, we're setting minute volumes instead. No biggie. Okay, so you get your high pressure. the alarm will go off 5 below what you have set, so it will go off at 35, okay? Just to let you know you're approaching your alarm limit. Where this really the high pressure comes into big play is if you're in pressure control, because you really want to keep a tight limit on that pressure control. And also, if you switch this to non-invasive, okay, and use it as a like a BiPAP, you want to make sure that you're close on that pressure. 40, I always look to see what my patient's doing. If they're already doing 38 when I set it up, it's going to go off, so I set it up at 45. So it's going to be patient dependent, okay? Minute ventilation, you guys know minute ventilation. I always look to see what the patient's doing and then set it accordingly. Probably 25 is probably a pretty decent one to start at, okay? Respiratory rate, most of the protocols below would be 8 or 10, so I usually at least set it at 8. And then the high is
35.
Right. Yep. 30, 35, depending on whether our protocol is 35. Some places have 30. So, and then this would be also your low pressure alarm. Okay, so this is your low peak alarm. So if you've got it set at 5, 2 and 10 is probably okay. If you want to make it a little tighter, you can make it 8. If you have your peak set at 10, you're probably going to want to go 5 and 12, maybe 5 and 13. It just depends on where you're going to have your peak set. Okay. Okay, so we're all set? Go ahead.
So the first one was the peak airway pressure, right?
Peak airway pressure, yep.
And the second is for the PEEP, right?
And this is PEEP, yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we're ready to start ventilation. We just intubated the patient. We're gonna hit this button here. It's gonna start ventilating my patient, okay? It's gonna take a couple seconds to kind of get everything from here to a digital display. I give it a couple seconds. That's why I never have you do your vent check right away, because it takes a few seconds. You can change it here on the fly if you want these particular parameters, and that's why there's that cover over it, so you can't accidentally bump it. This O2 sensor is going to keep going off. Okay, so on your front page, you've got your peak pressure, okay, your mean airway pressure, your PEEP that you have set, your total respiratory rate. Okay, now at this particular time, our patient's not spontaneously breathing. Okay, he's dead, he's not breathing. Your IE ratio that you set, then you get your minute ventilation, okay, your inspiratory volume and your expiratory volume. Okay, so this little orange box with the C means that you have told the whole world that you went through that whole self-test and it's compensated. That's what the C is for, it's compensated. So you know that we did it, okay. Next page, again, you've got your peak and your mean. If we hit our inspiratory hold, right here we wait for it to be activated, it takes a second, we're gonna get our plat. Okay, because it's pressure regulated, it's only gonna be there for a couple seconds, it's gonna be gone. Okay, like an volume control will stay, but the pressure changes. You get your PEEP and your respiratory rate again. It's off by 1 because it takes a second and I held that breath. Your VEE, that little symbol with the V with the dot over it, is for flow. So end expiratory flow, so in liters per minute, which is flow, we try to get that to close to 0 as possible. Just kind of gives us an indication if we've got some auto PEEP. Okay, so if it's not quite 0, like 1, 2, 3, I'm okay with, but if it's like really high, do we need to make some changes? Do we need to give a bronchodilator? Do we need suction? We need to do something. Okay, so then when your inspiratory time and your IE ratio, again, you've got your inspiratory minute ventilation, your expiratory minute ventilation, not that it really makes a big a deal. And then again, you're seeing your volumes. On the last page,